Hey, Susan, I want you to tell me all about Kickstarters
Oh my
in,
God.
in
Let's
30,
see.
30
There's
minutes
this
or
gray
less.
hair and this gray hair.
I love it. You're working on a Kickstarter at the moment and you're going to launch in a week. Is this the first?
Yes, it's the
Okay.
first. And of course, with the first, there's always that learning curve, Mount Everest times 10 moments.
Yes.
It's actually hasn't been that bad. And it's been really, really good in helping me think through the process of not only, running a Kickstarter campaign, looking at my books and looking at the stories and what can be done with them. Just doing this, the ideas of how you can make your stories, your worlds so interactive with readers has just exploded.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I would have to say that the thing for me is I thought we had factored in a good amount of time. Like we're pretty realistic with our
Yeah.
timings. And I thought we had done that pretty well, only to discover that we had still missed the mark with timings. I'd like to talk about timings definitely in there because that's probably the biggest lesson that discovered in this process. But the other thing is what you've just mentioned, and that is when you use your books as a foundation, something like a Kickstarter is just amazing because you can just this one little thing and then suddenly there's just all these amazing things that just shoot out of it, which of course you can use for your Kickstarter, but then you can use afterwards. And I think that's pretty amazing. So I'd love to talk about some of those ideas too. What do you offer in a Kickstarter? How do you know if readers want it? You know, all these questions that we've been asking ourselves as we've been doing it. But I think it'd be a good conversation too to just share with other authors if you're up for that one.
I have a tendency to let the squirrels run free, and that can get me into a lot of trouble, and it can be very overwhelming for some people. So I would love to share, but I just want to put this little notation down at, little running banner down at the bottom for authors that just because I'm doing this doesn't mean you have to, or you have to say, oh, I can't do this because look at everything she's done. Be as complex or as simple as you want to make it.
Yes. Yeah.
And I laugh because I've been always been known to take something that should just be, oh, just simple, just do this and be done with it. And I'll turn a simple PTO meet performance with students from just to have the kids get up on the stage and read their little lines and sing a little song and then walk off to a full stage production where you've got lights, camera, action, costumes, sound effects, all fog machine, bubble machines. It's been one of those where, I've kind of gone overboard. So I don't want authors that cautionary note, make it as simple as you want or as complex as you want, but just know who you are.
Yeah. Because we're doing what we would call a complex one later in the year, in a couple of
Yes.
months. And we thought, let's just do a simple one and see how it works on Kickstarter, see how the whole process works and what Kickstarter's like and all the rest of it. So let's just do a simple one now and see and learn so that we're ready for the complex one. So we did start with the intent for simple, and it has grown, but I think also in the same way it was meant to be what it is now. Like I
Yes.
think what you've ended up with is a really fabulous Kickstarter.
And what I want is, I always want to give more.
Mm,
And that's
mm,
just with my stories. I always want to give more. I always want it to be an experience that the reader is really going to enjoy. And I want to make it the items like you were talking about, the things that I'm offering are things that I would enjoy having. And not only as a reader, but as, just a person who loves artwork or, collecting certain things. It goes along with things that I appreciate and I value. And
yeah.
that's what I look at it as. I look at it for something that's of value.
So, to give some context, the Kickstarter is about your More Than Human series,
Yes.
which is a shifter human world, but it's a little bit different where the shifters are the dominant species or race. And they had thought that humans had actually died out, and then they discovered that they hadn't. And so now the worlds are engaging and connecting, and all sorts of good things are happening. So you've got one book out already in that series, Ella and the Beast, and you were writing the two stories. So book 2 and book 3, you're writing that at the moment. Why that particular series in, is it because there was only 3 books? Is that why, you know, to do a simple Kickstarter, was it because it just had 3 books, or is there another reason? Any, why that series?
A combination. One, it's a unusual series in that most shifter romances or shifter books, it's always the shifters that are kind of being suppressed, or the ones that they're the ones that are always not very many of them. I thought, well, what is different about my world compared to all the others? And the fact that the shifters ruled and humans were thought to be extinct popped in my head, and it'd be like, what would it be if at one time they lived side by side, but then over time the shifters end up taking over the world? And what would it be like as a human to come into this kind of world? And how would the shifters, a modern day shifter, react to this news? And so that fascination is what led to this series. I was going to write book 2 and 3 within months after writing Ella. And of course, the squirrels got in control and I got distracted. And the story started playing up again in my head. And I actually started writing book 3 before I started writing book 2. And then I realized how complex this series was, that I actually needed to write the 2 at the same time. It's 2 books at once that I haven't released, that I knew would be a good motivation for anyone who's not used to Kickstarter might find it interesting. I'm so excited, I guess, about the series that I wanted a different way to present it. I wanted to share it and get it out there because it is different and it is
Mm-hmm.
unique. But I noticed that the more I got into the story and got into the series, the ideas just started to explode, that I wanted to know more about the characters. I wanted to know more about, the shifters. I wanted to see where that connection is, and seeing how the whole arc is going to go is exciting. I couldn't think of a better way to share it than through a Kickstarter program.
Yeah, yeah. So how did you go about working out your rewards and your tiers?
I wanted to start low enough that it would grab people's attention, but I also wanted to offer something unique, something that people would help people. So I came up with the initial tier is a simple less than a cup of coffee reward, but I wanted to give them something of value. And I created an inspirational planner that,
Mm-hmm.
can help them keep track of what books are on my to be read list, or what books have I read. I've been doing a journal on trying to get healthier. So I've been tracking my weight and tracking my blood pressure and tracking what I'm eating. So this planner's got this, it's got motivational to help them, kind of say, hey, you got this, you can do this. Put a lot of things into the planner that I know that I'm using, that I thought would help other people as well, which is basically, it goes in with my worlds. I started out with that, and then you gradually build upon each reward. And the very last reward that came up with was it just blew my mind. And it was perfect for who I am, my branding, and the way I write.
So do people have to go and have a look at your Kickstarter to find out what that is, or will you share that with us? Do you want to share that, or they can go and look?
I'm one of
We'll
those that's
we'll
bad.
put the
I
link.
don't want to buy the Christmas gift until right before Christmas, because if I buy it too early, then you're going to get it early.
Yeah, we'll put the link in, and people can go and check out that last one, because
Yeah, check out the
that
last
last one is
because
good.
it's very limited, because
Yeah.
it is going to be something extremely special make sure that it was something that was not only very special, but something that's very unique.
Yeah, yeah. So some of the other awards you've got in there, you made some oracle cards, I know, with the shifters,
Animal
with them,
spirit.
with the mean, yeah, and sprayed edges. I thought, who doesn't
Uh,
love those on paperbacks? Yeah,
I love the sprayed edges. So, sprayed edges, for those that don't know, it's a technique where you take the edges of the book and you spray them with, and we use an air sprayer, but we do it in multiple layers and we do with designs on it that match what the story's about. The book actually becomes a piece of artwork as well.
yeah,
So you have
yeah.
not only the art of the words and the story, but the art of the illustrations that make up the edges. And each one is done by hand individually. In this case, when they stack the three books together, it will actually show a scene from the stories.
Oh, that's neat. That's a good idea. I love that. Yeah, they look really good together.
Yeah, and I
Mm,
mean, whether you're using it as a conversation piece, whether you're reading it, or whether you just have it as a piece of artwork on your bookshelf, it really stands
yeah.
out.
So you're doing artwork. I know you're doing some artwork in that. I'm always amazed where you find amazing artists. They're like from all over the world that you engage. What do you look for when you're looking for an artist? Because that's got to
What
be a hard one.
it is, because it's like finding the right narrator also.
Mm,
It's what happens is you know when somebody has got just something that connects with you. And I guess it's even like a reader when they find that author that connects with them, and then
hmm.
they just know that they're perfect fit.
Yes.
And so I've met many, many different people around the world, very talented artists, going through and looking at some of their artwork and everything. And it's like, this one is perfect for this series. And, there was just something about his artwork, and he had a video, and I listened to him talk, and you could hear the passion in his voice for what he does. And I knew that that passion would come through in the artwork.
Yeah.
And so connecting with him and then telling him what I'm wanting, and you could see the excitement, because I try to give the artists a lot of reign. I give them the information, but then I try to give them the freedom to be who they
Mm,
are. They see the same thing and capture it and pull it out, and then sharing it. I think everyone loves to see something beautiful. Watching it from sketch to different phases of transition. I like keeping the different phases, because, like, I've got one that I'll be sharing in the next Kickstarter where he was doing a bow, and I'm like, I didn't like the face on the bow. Was good, but it didn't fit that character. And
hmm.
so then he changed it. You could just see that he captured the personality of the bow in that moment.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to have somebody to not only try to explain it to someone, but to have
Yeah.
that person get it and then capture those feelings and emotions and create it into a piece of artwork.
And do you use like Fiverr or some other kind of, yeah, Fiverr?
Yes, I
And
use
you just,
Fiverr. It's a great opportunity to meet people around the world. Worked with multiple artists there, with actual illustrated artwork to game design. Right now, I'm working with a really sweet young man named Zach, who is creating my battle maps for me. And to me, those are just a piece of artwork in themselves. I could just stare at them because I feel like I'm actually going deeper and deeper. And then I worked with Fabio, who did my 3D print designs, with Marvin, who took lyrics that I've written and turned them into magic with songs. The list just goes on and on and on,
mm,
with the number of talented people that are around the world, from Venezuela to Scotland to Amsterdam to Ethiopia to
yeah.
Brazil.
When you were thinking of the Kickstarter, some people are kind of like all digital, all physical, and you've gone with a bit of both.
Mhm.
Any reason for that, or that's just how it's come together?
It's a combination. I think offering a physical item, people like to have something that they can feel, that they can
Yeah.
touch. It's another way of connecting with their senses
Hmm.
and offering it both ways. You know, some people don't have room, so the digital works for them. Other people may have a small amount of room, but they like I said, having that physical item. And by offering both, then you allow people to make that choice, you know,
Yeah.
which you prefer. And some people, they like the combination of it. You know, they don't want a whole lot of stuff physical. They just want a few things, but they're fine with most of it being digital.
When you're considering creating a Kickstarter, this is like for other authors, it really is about what you're comfortable with
Mhm.
and what fits with you. So if you don't want to go to the post office and be posting things or trying to work out postage,
Mhm.
you know, in America, in the country you're in, or international, then don't do it, in effect. You can run a Kickstarter just digital if you wanted to. So you're not constrained. I think that's the beauty of a Kickstarter. You can do what you want, sort of thing. Yeah.
Viewers need to be aware that, you know, the cost of postage has gone up tremendously. And so be aware that that is added on to whatever the reward cost is. And but if you really want something, you'll buy it.
Yeah.
And it's something that you value and you appreciate. But again, go with your comfort zone. Go with
Now, I know authors are going to ask this because this is the one that I see trips people a lot up. So, with other authors I've worked with who've done Kickstarters, the pricing of the rewards or the tiers, it just like they're like $5 too much, and they've got like a laundry list of things that they're putting in there, and you go, gosh, you know, you could just do one or two of those things. You don't. Some people have too much or not enough. How do you work out pricing? What's the mental? And I think that's what people will want to know. What's the mental game that you play when it comes to putting a price on stuff? You're good at pricing books. I
Mhm.
think most authors know what the price of a book is, a digital book and a paperback. But then when you're creating these other products and oracle cards or an experience or you know whatever, what's the mental game that you play around pricing? What's the discussion that goes on for that?
Well, I look at multiple things. I look at not only the item, is it a value? Is it unique? It's not something they're going to get elsewhere. But also, I have to look at my time and the cost. My time is worth something because if I'm working on this, then I'm not writing, and writing is my income. So I have to look at, or I have to, if I'm offering this, I need to hire someone to help me get this done. The cool thing about that is I'm helping somebody else make a living.
Yeah,
It trickles down. The person who gets the reward is getting something that they value, and I want to give them something that they value and that they appreciate. And from there, the snowball effect is not only do they help me continue producing and creating all this wonderful material, but I'm able to help other people as well. So it has that trickle down effect where it,
yeah,
it goes down. But I have to think about, okay, what is going to be the cost of my materials? You know, digital, you think, oh, well, it's not that, it's just digital. It's not going to cost you anything. It does. It costs in time, it costs in electricity, it costs in purchasing the programs or the software that you need to create these items. So all of this is a cost that, you know, I have to absorb before I can produce. And so I look at what am I offering? Is it a value? And how much did it cost me or take me? How much time did it take me to create this?
mm,
And then that's where I basically come up with the cost for the rewards is I need to make this to be able to produce this.
yeah. So it's a good mix of, say, like the business side of things of you actually pricing and costing things out so that you're not giving away the shop. But then there's also the intrinsic value of the item that you're giving as well. So like smush the two together and you come up with your price.
And
And I
Kickstarter,
guess you only,
they do have like a little calculator that helps you with some of that.
yeah. And I would dare say that for, say, someone, an author who hasn't tried a Kickstarter would be at least cover your price, the cost in your first one.
Yes.
Use it as a trial. At least cover your costs and know the business costs involved in whatever the offer is. And then go from there once you kind of, worked it out a little bit.
Mhm.
So don't be scared on the first one around that. So long as you cover your costs and just throw in a bit more for love.
I think the biggest fear that most people are going to have is not about doing all of that. They're not going to be afraid about the learning curve for creating a Kickstarter. They're not going to be afraid of what should I offer, what shouldn't I offer. I think their biggest fear is that no one is going to come and back them. No one is
Yeah.
going to support them. No one's going to think of what they've got is of value.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in the back of their mind, I know in the back of mine, it's that fear of what if nobody thinks that my stuff's good enough?
Yes.
Believes in what I believe in as much as I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. So what's the head conversation you have around that? What's your mental conversation been? Because you could have decided not to have pressed the button
That was the
for
first
launch.
thing. But I promised myself in 2012 that I wasn't going to let fear control me, that I was going to take control.
Yeah.
So that was out the window. And the second one was go bury my head underneath a pillow. Okay, that one's out the window because I've got too much to do. I mean, there's a lot of mental gymnastics, but
Yeah.
it's that constant, I'm not going to let the negative talk win. So whenever I have that negative talk, I go look at the artwork or I go look at
Mm,
Kickstarter that I've created, and I'm thinking, wow, this is really wow. No, this
yeah.
is good stuff. This is really good stuff. Would I want this? Yes, I would want this.
I think it's interesting with the Kickstarter because the author doing it is you've got the preparation, you've got the launch, and then during the launch, there's like all these emails you have to send out. The work that actually goes into a Kickstarter, I think, is probably underestimated as to what's there. In a team meeting that we had, I think the interesting point made was, Kickstarters are stressful. And I think that's pretty true because and I just allude back to the comment I made right at the very beginning about the time. However long you think it's going to take you, I would say just double
Triple
that
it.
because there is just so much. You just find these little bits, and even just putting the graphics together so
Yes.
that it's really visual because Kickstarter is such a visual medium. Doing your videos, the graphics, yeah. It was the time I think was the biggest shock for me. And I thought we had done pretty well with that. And then it was like, oh no, we need more.
But that's part of the first time experience. It's understanding. You do the first one with an understanding that it's going to be a learning curve. If your first one doesn't do as well as you think, or even if it doesn't fun, don't give up. Don't give up. It's like with anything else. You don't just give up just because you didn't succeed the first time. You take what you've
Yeah.
learned and then you tweak it. And that's what I'll do from this. And I do this at my conventions when I go. What swag was the most popular? What swag was not? So I know
Mm,
what readers really like. And sometimes they may like it at this one and not at this one.
yeah.
But you get a general feel for what they appreciate and what they really love. And
Mm.
so this is the things that you look for, and it's part of that experience. Yeah, it's stressful, but try to enjoy the journey. When you go traveling, even sometimes when you go to the grocery store, yes, that's a stressful moment. Then, oh my God, they got this 2 for 1. I'm glad I came today.
I would definitely suggest authors, if you're doing your Kickstarter, give it a go. Learn in that first one. I think do something simple for the first one to find out all the bits and pieces, how it all fits together. be very clear on the headspace, because it is a bit of a head
Yes.
turner at different times, and you may well want to just give up and go, this is all too hard. But I think it just has the opportunity, because what you can create for from your books, the things that can come out of that are then not limited to just using it in the Kickstarter. You can then use, you can then go and sell it on your website, or you can do something else with it in your business. The worst case scenario happens and you don't fund, just repurpose the bits that you were going to use in your Kickstarter for something else in your business. So it's not a failure. It was just like, oh, well, that didn't work. I'm now moving it over here, and it's going to work over here. So yes, I would just say go with that kind of frame of mind. Be curious, see what happens,
and have fun.
Yeah.
Make it part of your fun journey. The one thing I want to add is be organized. Keep everything together in one folder. You could have multiple folders in that folder, but keep everything organized so that you can use it as a reference for future Kickstarters if you do that. But also if you're collaborating with others that are helping you put the Kickstarter together, you want them to have access to it as well.
Yes.
If you're working with a team, and the more organized you are, which is difficult for me because I tend to be scattered everywhere, or I have my own organizational methods that don't always, people will be going, that's not the way you do things, but it works for me. But try to be as organized as you can, because it really does make a difference and
Yeah.
helping take the stress level down.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope this has been a good insight into what goes on behind the scenes in getting a Kickstarter ready. I will share the link. We'll share the link to Susan's Kickstarter so you can go and have a look at it. And of course, you're welcome to follow and fund if you want. Definitely back. You can see that secret, the super secret, super duper level that Susan's offering. It's a good one. Righty. Thanks, Susan.
Have a good day.